Good evening. My name is Robert Cagnetta, and this is a meeting of the South Kingstown of Rhode Island Zoning Board of Review. Members present tonight are Thomas Daniels, our Vice Chairman, William Rosen, Arlene Hicks, Jeff Elia, and alternates Brian DuPont and William McDonald. Also present are Amy Goins, the South Kingstown Special Legal Counsel, Jamie Gorman, the South Kingstown Building and Zoning Official, and Jessica Spence, the Administrative Support Associate. The board is made up of 8 people with 5 regular voting members. A minimum of 4 members must be present to vote. In the event that regular members are absent or recused, an alternate will step in. No more than 5 members are entitled to a vote, and at least 3 voting members are needed to grant the requested relief. Tonight, the voting members will be myself, Mr. Daniels, Mr. Rosen, Ms. Hicks, and Mr. Elia. Applicants are here either for a dimensional or use variance or a special use permit. The board is a quasi-judicial body created by the South Kingstown Ordinance pursuant to state statutes. We don't follow strict rules of evidence, and we operate in what we believe to be in a fair and equitable manner. We try to let everyone speak unless you get carried away and or it's deemed not to be relevant. So for the interest of time, just please be brief and on point. We do our best not to argue and keep things civil, and we try to start our last petition by 10 o'clock. After we introduce the petition, please step forward to the microphone, adjusting it as necessary, and clearly state your name and spell it for the record. You will be then asked to take an oath to tell the truth. After that, you can present your petition with any witnesses to testify in support of the application. The board will then ask you or your witnesses questions. And as for the microphone, there's this red thing that lights up when it's on. So there's a little person button that you kind of hit to talk. And unfortunately, if more than one of us is on at a time, we get feedback. So when you're not speaking, just make sure the red light's off. Where was I? After the petitioner has presented their testimony, anyone with questions in support of or opposition to the petition can step forward to the microphone. You will identify yourself, be sworn in, and present your testimony with follow-up questions from the board. Please do not direct any questions or comments to the petitioner or any other witnesses. The board will direct your questions to the petitioner or its witnesses after the comment period. So after hearing all the testimony, the board members will discuss the application and the evidence presented. The board members are going to ask a lot of questions, and there's a good reason. We cannot just grant anything we want, and there are rules to follow per the South Kingstown Ordinance. So you must give testimony in support of certain facts to allow the request to be approved. And we'll do our best to kind of help you out. Tonight we are here for dimensional variances and special use permits. For the dimensional variance, you must present the following: evidence that your hardship is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or the structure, but it's not due to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, that your hardship is not the result of any prior action on your part, and that the granting of the variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area, and that your hardship by the denial of the variance will amount to more than a mere inconvenience. That means that the relief you're seeking is minimal to reasonably enjoy the permitted use of the property in which it's proposed for. For a special use permit, you must present the following evidence: that the special use request is specifically authorized by the zoning ordinance. So somewhere in this book, it has to be authorized, or we don't have the power to approve it. The request meets all the criteria in the zoning ordinance that authorizes such special use, and the request will not alter the general characteristic of the surrounding area, nor will it impair the purpose or the intent of the zoning ordinance. All right. We okay? Kind of just get started? All right. First, we're going to hear the continuation of the petition of James and Joan Marasco of 617 Smith Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02908. They're asking for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance. They're seeking to demolish the existing dwelling and construct a new dwelling with an attached garage as proposed 0 feet from the east property line. The required setback is 7.3 feet. Therefore, they're asking for 7.3 feet. The lot size is .33 acres, and this dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, section 205, single non-conforming recorded lots, and section 907 are standards of relief. The owner of the property are James T. and Jones M. Marasco for premises located at 65 Quagnot Drive, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 63-3, Lot 22, and is zoned R40. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Michael Resnick on behalf of the applicant owner. And as you noted, Mr. Chairman, this is a continued hearing, but as you also know, this is my first evening with you. Mr. Marasco has brought in new legal representation, so I'd like to tell you where we've been and what we've done since the last hearing. What has been submitted to you is a revised plan set. I can tell you that the dimensional relief that was originally sought relative to side yard setback has been substantially reduced via these revised plans. I'm going to allow my architect, Nathan Carden, to speak more particular about the revised site plan as well as the reduced dimensional relief that's sought, but I would note that starting at the front of the side yard, it's actually starting at 7.4 feet, which is in conformance with your dimensional regulations in this zone regarding setback, and it's a tapering, meandering property line, leaving us at 3.2 feet at the back, and that is the largest degree of relief that's being sought, that 3.2. In addition to submitting the board with those revised plans were provided to the abutters. The Potters, Mr. and Mrs. Potter, represented by Michael Lynch, who, as I understand, represented them at the last hearing. We presented those plans, had significant discussions with Mr. Lynch. Mr. Carden, through his efforts, was able to put together a revised plan set that obviated their concerns. So I have provided to your solicitor prior to this hearing, as well as your zoning clerk, a letter withdrawing the opposition from Mr. Lynch. Mr. Chairman, if I could indulge you, I'd like to make this an exhibit, and I do have copies.
Great, thank you. Now, is this the same copy that we have? Is it already an exhibit?
It's added to the record.
It's added to the record? Do you want, I mean, we can still mark it.
As long as it's part of a record, and if any of the members would like a copy of it, I have copies.
Yep, and I can read it into the record now if you prefer. It's from, like you said, Michael Lynch, the attorney. In following up on our telephone discussion regarding the above captioned matter, the plan as presented and detailed in your September 13th, 2024 correspondence noting the southeasterly corner of the planned garage to be 3.2 feet away from my client's property line, and southwesterly corner said to be of said garage 7.4 feet away from the client's property will not result in an objection to that plan as presented to the South Kingstown Board hearing on September 18th in 2024. So in fact, they are giving you their blessing as to say that the 3.2 is fair to them.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for reading that into the record. I did speak with Mr. Lynch, and he advised me that based on that correspondence, he would not be appearing this evening.
Okay.
The other thing I do want to mention is that when this was first presented to the board, because of the zero setback, there was a presumption that there would be an easement or a staging area on the Potter's property. That was a presumption that is no longer in play. That's been taken out. There will be no staging area required whatsoever.
And you feel that 3.2 feet is sufficient in order to have clearance for construction?
It is sufficient. I do quite a bit of construction work, and I will tell you that there are means to actually rebuild without any setback, leaving the wall up. There's plenty of room to do that. We've discussed that, and we'll discuss that with your building official. The one thing I want to note before I hand it over to Mr. Carden to answer your questions is somewhat strange situation. We're here asking for dimensional relief, but if this board were to give us that dimensional relief, we're actually bringing the property into further conformance with your zoning ordinance dimensionally.
Correct.
Because there is a garage right now that's right on the property line.
Correct.
All right, so of course, we're going to go through all the factors. Mr. Carden is here to answer any questions you have, existing proposed conditions. I'm very happy to go through the comp plan of why this is in line with the neighborhood, in line with the comp plan. At the end of the day, it's a single-family home, so it is in compliance with the comp plan. I can get into more detail, but I just would ask the board that they look through the frame of an oddity. Zoning relief is actually bringing this development into further conformance with your ordinance, which is not always the case, kind of a rarity.
No, absolutely, and no, I appreciate that, and you didn't have the opportunity to kind of be here the last meeting, but I know certainly my concerns and others was the fact that it's less construction, more maintenance and so forth of being 0 feet away from the property line. But I think 3.2, and I fix and restore houses as well, so the 3.2 in my eyes is adequate. But certainly we'll have an opportunity for the board to sort of ask any questions that they might need.
Sure, absolutely, and I'd ask Mr. Carden to come up, and if you wouldn't mind, because I wasn't here last time, I would like him to just tell you his credentials, his experience, and I would ask Mr. Chairman that you accept him as an expert, as an architect.
Sure, come on up. So just please state your name and spell it for the record.
Nathaniel Carden, Nathaniel
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. So please go ahead. What would you like to sort of present to us?
Great. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
Oh, now, recognize you as an expert. Certainly your credentials. You are a registered architect for the state of Rhode Island?
Yes, I am.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been registered in Rhode Island for approximately 4 years.
Okay. And certainly this is not your first project, and you've done this before.
Correct.
Okay. So certainly as a person in your field and who is licensed and registered in the state, you certainly can be considered an expert amongst others things, I'm sure, but that at the very least can do it. So go ahead.
Understood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I would just ask, if you could start with an explanation of the existing conditions,
Sure.
talk about the unique character of this land, and then if you could go on to the proposed conditions in your revised plan set.
So I'll just shorten you up a bit. So you don't necessarily need to go through all that again. I think, again, our biggest concern was the fact that you guys were building right on the property line.
Right.
The fact that you're no longer building right on the property line sort of, eases that concern. So I think it's just a matter of reassuring us that 3.2 is enough and is all you need. And that there's a reason why you can't have more. Why can't you have the 7.4 feet away? Or 7.2 rather? What is it?
7.3. It's yeah.
So, and the reason why you can't be 7.2. So really just kind of helping us know that placement is sort of what you need, why you need that.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. As previously stated, Nathaniel Carden. I'm a Rhode Island native, once upon a time Prout graduate, currently residing in Providence. I'm the owner of NDC Architect and the co-founder of Novelterra Architecture and Urban Design. Previously before the board, as stated, we were here 2 months ago proposing to do a vertical extension to the existing garage by about 5 feet, which is on that south property line. So our the existing conditions on site are that existing garage, and there's an existing single-story home on the lot. As you can see from the site plan diagram here, it's quite narrow of a lot, and it tapers towards the coastal features, and there's a considerable slope, change in grade downward towards the water. Our revised design entails demolishing the existing garage and relocating it to be as close to conforming as possible given certain circumstances. And we feel that better accommodates the future maintenance concerns, and it provides an adequate alleviating space between the south property line and the neighbor's lot. We would, just to kind of dive into a particular detail that was a concern of the neighbor, we are proposing to leave a portion of the existing garage foundation along the south property line, keeping that in place as an effort to reduce soil disturbance and prevent potential damage to the neighbor's established plantings. The new garage footprint is now conforming on that southwest corner on the front of the house. And we feel that this substandard lot of record has unique site characteristics which create special circumstances, such as the narrowness, tapering dimension, and sloping conditions mentioned. We're asking for, more specifically, 4.1 feet of relief, and we're seeking that for the rear southeast corner of the proposed garage. The client, myself, the contractor, and the site designer have been working towards creatively handling the many design constraints and the criteria that was spelled out. We feel that this is the minimized relief for reasonable enjoyment of the property. The unique tapering dimensions of the site is what places a portion of the new footprint in the side setback. We were able to minimize the footprint of the advanced septic system between the last hearing and now. There were favorable soil test results, so the type of septic system used allows for up to 20% of the leach field to be located underneath the driveway. That was part of the puzzle. And there's a physical barrier required, which will be in the form of a decorative fence that will be used to ensure that no more than 20% of the system is driven over. And Mr. Gorman, if you could go to the next slide, there's an enlarged driveway drawing. Thank you. The driveway has been pushed as far north as possible while still maintaining turning maneuvers to be able to exit the driveway facing forward. There was some back and forth with the site designer to make that work. Some compromises such as removing a strip of landscaping along the north property line. The proposed changes still allow for the client to maintain the design intent for a year-round residence, which without the proposed relief poses more than a mere inconvenience for the following reasons. The space provided by the setback relief allows for the home to accommodate a non-intrusive age-in-place design and facilitates full-time in-home care. It allows for a more pedestrian-friendly experience, adding to neighborhood character by not having a front-facing garage door which dominates the facade. This is also something that's, having a front-facing garage is something specifically discouraged in the South Kingstown residential design guidelines. The relief also allows for safer exiting of the driveway on a narrow street facing forward. And if the garage were to shrink in depth any further, it would inhibit the spatial criteria and intended use above the garage for what the owner considers reasonable enjoyment for them and their guests. The proposed design is believed to be the best use of the site given the proximity to coastal features and unique characteristics described, and we've been making a substantial effort towards alleviating the concerns from the neighbors and the board since our last hearing. We feel it's important to note that the revised relief requested is not sought for the purpose of financial gain or profit. The client seeks to make an investment in the town and the neighborhood and contributing to its character and the comprehensive plan vision, which has been of longstanding importance to their family. They hope to create a new home that supports their needs year-round and brings their family together for years to come. So,
Okay. No, that makes sense. So, so you're able to accommodate by moving the septic system. I know that was part of the obstacle before.
Exactly.
But you don't feel that there's going to be any obstacle in exiting the property or entering it. They have sufficient room to be able to navigate their property.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
The proximity and location of the house adjacent seems like that it's not going to be like a headlight issue or any nuisance to the neighbor in terms of them turning around or otherwise. So
right.
That's good. Okay, board members, any questions for this witness? No?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mr. Rosa.
You said that the septic system is going to be underneath the driveway, right?
Up to 20% of the system.
20% of it is going to be underneath the driveway. Is there going to be a leaching field with that septic system? Or is it going to be contained within the septic system itself?
It is contained within the system. It's an advanced system.
Oh, sorry, that mic.
That's just, we got feedback. It's contained within the, thank you. It's contained within the system itself. And it's an advanced on-site wastewater treatment system.
And just to chime in really quick, it isn't from the present waste management system. So given that this is, yes, given that this is a somewhat environmental sensitive area, we view this a benefit for the properties as far as that goes.
Second question, there is a second story on the garage, is that correct? A recreational room?
That's correct. Yeah, if you go to the second floor plan, scrolling up, this is the top. This one here shows the space that's seen as, critical for the intended use by the owner and their guests.
No, I understand that
Yep,
part.
gotcha. Yep.
That is not going to overhang any part of the part that's right next to the property line.
No, it's a vertical wall.
It's vertical.
Correct.
Okay. But you said that the cement or the structure that's there now is going to be taken down, and the cement that's going to be on the property line is going to remain there so that the soil is not disturbed in any
Correct.
way. Is the wall itself going to then have to have a new foundation put in?
There will be a new foundation
For
for
the
the
garage.
entirety of the structure, yeah.
And that's the foundation that will be along the 7.4 to 3.2
Correct.
Diagonal that's going to go on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious as to how the construction crew is going to, but I know my good friend Rob here knows exactly what you're talking about, but I don't. How they're going to manage within that small area in constructing that wall as such.
3.2 feet is plenty of space to provide
I know you
for
said-
scaffolding. Yeah.
I know you said that, but I'm leery of how the neighbor is going to withstand having the construction crew there for, it's going to take a while, obviously, a number of days to do that. And they do have planting there that they just recently put in, so.
The planting's actually been there a considerable
That's
time.
not
right?
part of the petition, I understand.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
just asking for information, actually, so.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure Rob will give it to me, so.
Wow. All right, any other questions, board members? Nope. Okay. You anything else to add?
No, thank you so much.
If you wouldn't
That's great.
mind, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to ask Mr. Carden, the testimony you'd offer this evening.
Just turn on, yeah, make sure you're talking into it.
Mr. Carden, the testimony you've offered this evening to the board, was it given, is it your opinions to a reasonable degree of your expertise as an architect registered to do business at the state of Rhode Island? Are the opinions that you provided this evening, are they to a reasonable degree of certainty in your expertise as an architect?
Yes.
And unless the board has any other questions, as I said, Mr. Chairman, I have a planner's report.
Okay.
I do have a resume of that planner who was unable to come this evening.
Okay.
I could do it one of two ways. I'd be happy to make it an exhibit, but I'd also be happy, if the chairman thinks it necessary, to go through some of the points that we've discovered relative to zoning ordinance compliance and comp plan compliance. However,
Sure.
The chairman would like to deal with that.
Well, I mean, just based on the tone of last meeting, let's kind of see how everybody's feeling about it now, because I know they went through the presentation as the overall use of the property and so forth. So I wouldn't want to sort of waste your time, or I know there was effort put into it, but let's kind of see how everybody's feeling about it and see if there's anybody out there that wants to speak on behalf, perhaps. And if we have some concerns, we can certainly ask for that information from the
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone that wants to speak on this petition? Come on up. Good evening.
James L. Olbrys, O-L-B-R-Y-S. I own the property at 76, sorry.
No, go ahead. You can finish that.
I own the property at 76 Winchester Drive, diagonally across.
Okay, great.
From this
And
property?
you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but it?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Go ahead.
So I have two questions. in that this board is going to vote on a variance, and this hearing has gone on for 5 different sessions, and you've kind of worn down my neighbors.
I'm sorry.
Are you going, don't take it personally, I didn't mean
I
that
don't.
to you.
I don't.
Are you going, before you agree, are you going to send certified letters back out to the neighbors so they have an opportunity to talk about that?
Yeah, the certified mailing only goes out in the initial meeting, and then anything that's continued, there isn't an additional request sent out.
Okay, so because this is dragged on for 5 meetings.
Right.
Those that didn't persist, their voice gets left out, is that it?
If they didn't speak up already, because certainly what they've told us about already to this point, we certainly are taking we still take into that into consideration. And I know what they're asking for is for this relief of the garage itself, not necessarily for the improvement of the property itself.
That was Jeff Potter's voice, the next door neighbor. The rest of the neighbors, initially in the first hearing, we had 15 to 18 people here.
Right.
And as time has gone on, that's diminished, and I'm the only one that showed up tonight.
Sure.
So those other folks had voices initially, but because it's been postponed and various excuses, it hasn't happened.
Sure.
So the answer is no. Whatever
Okay.
you guys will vote tonight, and it'll be approved or not.
Correct. And is there something you'd like to add to that? I mean, is there something
guess
that
the
you're
other-
concerned about?
Well, the concern naturally is the neighborhood.
Okay.
And that house, I've been around for 30 years. That house has always been a rental.
Yep.
It's a rental today as we speak. And initially in the messaging that we got, it was going to transform into a family property and all that. There's concern in the neighborhood that that's going to be a VRBO or a rental facility.
Sure.
5 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms.
Correct.
So there's a concern.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I'm the only one here tonight to voice that. So that's the concern, the consensus. And if the variance is going to be approved, so be it, I guess.
Well, this is just a variance for the placement of the garage. It has nothing to do with the size of the house itself, and what the house becomes. And those aren't necessarily things we can really consider. There are rental registries that are required, right, for our town?
There's a short-term rental registration requirement currently.
And what does that, is that a public thing where you can find out who's renting their property short-term?
You can inquire with our office, yeah, we can. They have until December 31st to register for 2025 calendar year.
But correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gorman, but that's only if you rent it less than a month.
Correct.
Typically, that house has been rented for 9 or 10 months a year.
Yeah, and
Not we're continuously.
yeah, but that's not even if everybody were here and there was a chorus of everyone saying they were upset with that it really wouldn't be relevant to our decision.
Okay.
Because it's just the placement of the garage. It's not necessarily how the property is used, it's just where the garage goes.
Okay.
So if they move the garage 3.5 feet, they wouldn't even be here. And they can still rent it out, unfortunately.
Okay, that's all
So,
I had.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
let me state that in the paperwork that we have received, the new owners have guaranteed that it will not be a rental. It'll be a permanent residency for them, and I think that's solid enough.
Yeah, but that still isn't binding. I mean, they can rent it tomorrow.
I'm just giving it out as information that we have received.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you.
And I would be happy to say, Mr. Chairman, while we're not going to encumber the property and say we can't rent it, we can't short-term rent it, because candidly, nobody's required to do that when you're seeking relief at a zoning board hearing. The intent of this family is to have a generational home. Mr. Matt Marasco, the patriarch of the family, longtime lawyer in Rhode Island, sickly, having some issues, and the idea is to age in place. This is a home for the family. This is not a short-term rental idea. But again, we're not gonna give up any of our property rights unless there's a basis for it.
No need to for this particular
Mr. Chairman.
request. So thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on behalf of this? Or behalf, for or against, otherwise. No? Okay, board members, any thoughts on this? Mr. Daniels, you want to go first?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The main problem here initially was the zero setback. The fact that the neighbors have signed off on that and agreed that the 3.2 foot setback that's now being requested is not an issue, I don't see any reason why this application should not be granted.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Anyone else? Mr. Rosen?
I agree with Mr. Daniels. The original problem was the 0-foot setback, and now that has been alleviated to Mr. and Mrs. Parta's relief, I assume, and hopefully construction will go forward. This is actually a beautiful lot, and the structure that is presently there is really an embarrassment to the neighborhood, and the plans that they have put forward is going to, I think, going to enhance the neighborhood considerably as such, so I will vote for this.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Is there anyone else who wants to speak on behalf? Mr. Elliott?
Sure. I've actually been to the property. A couple of the neighbors months ago came out and spoke to me very briefly. I told them I couldn't speak at length, but they did convey their concerns, and I do believe these new changes have addressed all the concerns, so I would agree that this application should move forward.
Thank you. Everybody else okay? Ms. Hicks, you want to say something?
I'm wondering, Mr. Resnick, would you mind turning that microphone on? Yeah, and then my question is for Mr. Gorman. The relief sought is just for that one section of garage wall. Does every other aspect of the proposed new home meet all of the requirements?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Building
All right.
height as well, so essentially now a triangle of that garage wall
Yeah,
will need the relief. That's the only portion.
okay.
It will need CRMC approval, so if the board is inclined to grant the application, it will be subject to the 2-year expiration.
Okay, thank you.
And I did not read in all of the new documents into the record. Should I?
No, we can just take note that everything that was received from the applicant is part of the record.
Okay. I mean, because I did read it in initially 5 meetings ago. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments? Someone want to make a motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move the approval of petition of James and Joan Marasco of Smith Street, Providence, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance. The property is a single non-conforming recorded lot, and under section 205 and 907, the applicant is seeking relief. The relief that the applicant is seeking is on the south side of the property, and they are requesting 4.1 feet of relief. The application and the documents have been read into the record by the chairman and identified as the proper documents for this hearing. The original request here was for a 0 setback on the south side bordering a garage. That has now been adjusted, and there is no specific objections that were noted to this petition. Mr. Resnick appeared on behalf of the applicants, the Marascos, and Mr. Andrew Carden appeared as the expert witness, was identified as an expert witness to testify that the 3.2 feet now between the property line and the proposed garage would be adequate for construction without any incursion onto the adjacent residential property. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land, and indeed is unique. It's a trumpet-shaped, or I should say a I guess it's a rhomboid, going back to my math, my high school math, shape of the lot. It is an unusual shaped lot for sure. And it's not due not to the general characteristics of this surrounding area, and is not due to a physical or economic disability of the applicant. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action, because nothing has taken place on the property yet for construction of the garage, demolition of the existing garage, and construction of a new garage, which is really what this dimensional variance is all about. The board finds that the requested variance will not alter the general characteristic of the surrounding area or impair the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. Once again, this is a vast improvement of the property and vast improvement in the neighborhood, and will certainly be in character with what's taking place with many renovations in that neighborhood over the years. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner, if the dimensional variance is not granted, amounts to more than a mere convenience, meaning that the relief sought here is minimal to the reasonable enjoyment of the permitted use. There is a garage on the premises as currently, and this will remove that garage, add a new garage, and with a second story for additional space for the enjoyment of the applicant, and certainly is in keeping with the ordinance and in keeping with the characteristics of the neighborhood and the existing property. The approval is subject to CRMC granting their necessary approval, and will be good for a 2-year period. And with that, there are no conditions to be added to this request, and I move that the application be granted.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosen. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Daniels? Aye. Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Elio? Aye. Ms. Hicks?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, next we have the petition of Michael Greco and Max Van Dexter, excuse me, 64 Narragansett Ave, Narragansett, Rhode Island, 02882, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to reconstruct and enclose the front porch on a single-family dwelling. The new wall will be located 25 feet from the property line. The required front yard setback is 35 feet, therefore a 10-foot request is required. The lot size is 0.77 acres. A dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance section 401, schedule of dimensional regulations, and section 907 are standards of relief. Owner of the property are Alexander and Adrian Harrell from premises located at 3682 Kingstown Road, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 22-1, Lot 5, and is zoned R20. For this, we have the application signed and dated August 9th, 2024. Owner authorization form signed and notarized August 12th, 2024. Plan of the land prepared by the South County Survey and stamped by James T. Calderon, PLS, dated August 8th of this year. Construction schematics and proposed site plan A00, A20, A2.1, S2.4, and S2.5, prepared by MGDB and dated May 23rd of this year, with revisions on June 14th and August 8th. 200-foot abutters list and radius map, legal notices, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening. How are you? Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Go ahead, Mr. Greco.
Thank you. I am the designer and applicant on behalf of the Harrells. Adrian is here with us tonight. The other applicant is the builder, Max Van Dexter. This team came together based on mutual friendship and successful previous work together in the community, and I think we are all invested in this getting done well. The idea behind this project is very simple. The Harrells want to enclose their existing covered front porch to create more usable interior living space for their family. The existing front porch is facing the often busy street, which makes it difficult to use and enjoy. And the existing porch is also in need of renovation due to its just age and condition. The house is over 100 years old. So this idea made a lot of sense to us from the get-go as the most kind of sensible way to kind of get them what they need from their house. During initial meetings, we did discuss the setback and measured around 48 feet to the street and felt comfortable to move forward, knowing that the survey that was in process would verify if and how much of a variance we would need, if any, or maybe just a modification. The setback is 35 feet. But we are asking for 10 feet, which is more than we anticipated. I did not anticipate how far the right of the way for the road would come into that yard. It's a 66-foot right of way, which is, to be honest, the widest one I've dealt with on a project, so it comes in further than I'm used to. The design of this project, just to kind of let you know what we're doing and why we're adding in this space, is just under 300 square feet of area filling in that existing front porch. It's going to have a central kind of entry mudroom because currently their front door enters basically right into the bottom of their stairs. It's very tight, very congested. And then to one side, there'll be a small kind of play area library, and the other side, a small craft area. The siding, windows, and trim aim to match the existing character of the house, and the window layout aims to allow for natural light without sacrificing too much thermal or acoustic comfort from the north-facing and busy street side that the porch is up against. Currently, the existing porch comes about 7 feet past the setback as a pre-existing non-conforming structure. The additional 3 to 4 feet we are requesting beyond that existing, where the new front wall will be, is because we'll just need a landing for the stairs as required for egress. Currently, there's the deck functions as the landing. So in closing, I'd like to say that I do say no to quite a few projects that require variances, sometimes because they're more complicated or unpredictable, but often because they seek relief in ways that seem excessive or unnecessary or even somewhat selfish. And I don't see that here. I see a family trying to make a subtle and sensible change to the layout of their home so it can meet their needs better. The project needs a variance because its location is pre-existing and non-conforming. And this project moves the overall structure no closer to the street. It doesn't really change or alter the appearance and character of the home. There's no change in height. There's no increased impervious surface. So it seems pretty straightforward to me. And I think that gives you a general overview. So thank you all for listening to me. I believe this is a very reasonable request, and I hope that the board can recognize that and allow us to move forward. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you'd like to hear from the owner, they're here. But that's all I've got for now, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Greco. You should do it more often because you do it well.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, because all the things I was just going to ask you, you answered right at the end. So, I mean, any questions, board members, of Mr. Greco? I mean, he hit every mark in terms of not getting any closer to the roadway and using the existing footprint.
Yes, as usual.
Go ahead, sir.
Just one question.
Yeah, of course.
I had great difficulty finding this house.
Going too fast.
Yeah, I was. But it's well hidden by foliage. But it's beautiful, actually, with that foliage on there. You're going to take that down, I assume.
I mean, the stuff directly in front of it, I think the idea, they'll probably be able to see more of a future landscaping plan that will have to be for construction. We are going to be amending the existing foundation, so all of that will kind of have to go for the meantime for work to happen. But I think they're all pretty excited and confident they'll come up with a good landscape plan for in front of that once we're done with construction.
Good. The foundation, you're saying, is going to be refurbished?
Yeah, right now there's a stone foundation. I mean, we're going to check to see the quality of what's existing and, work with as much of it as we can within reason, but
So
yeah.
the footprint's going to be the same?
The footprint will be the same. We just want something that's stronger, more, controlled environment, better insulation, better air tightness, everything that we're touching there, we'd like to improve along the way.
And the steps in front,
The steps in front will just be pushed out with a small landing so they have somewhere to stand as they need to get in and out of the door. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions, board members? No? Anything else to add?
No, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak on behalf of this petition? Come on up. Don't be nervous. Just state and spell your name, please.
Sure. My name is Adrienne Smith Harrell. First name is Adrien. Last name is Smith space Harrall. And I'm the home.
Come on.
Are you pulling my
No,
leg?
he's
Oh,
pulling.
okay. I'm the homeowner of 3682 Kingstown Road.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I certainly do.
Okay, so go ahead, please.
The only thing I just wanted to add was that our home was originally built in 1908. And so when the home was built with the existing porch that it has, that Route 138 was probably not a paved road that cars were driving on. And so that space right now where the porch is essentially unusable to the home. We use the back door primarily because the front door, as Michael alluded to, leads directly into our living room with no real space for shoes or coats, and no one's sitting on the front porch because no one wants to watch people go over the speed limit all day nonstop. So that might be you, Mr. Rosen. But the real purpose and goal of the project is to make that existing space that exists for the footprint of the home a usable space for the family. And myself and my husband are quite passionate about maintaining the look and feel of the home. Our house is one of the original Sears kit homes, and so we are very eager to make sure that all of the facing of the home honors the original design.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any questions? No? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Enjoy the home. They're really cool. Sears. Okay, anyone else out there want to speak on behalf? Nope. So, board members, any thoughts on this? Mr. Rosen?
This seems like a reasonable petition. Like I said, it really is a beautiful little home right now, and I hope that they keep it that way. So
Sure.
that's all.
You don't want to roll right into a motion?
As long as it's not a rental.
Well, they could do that. So,
I know they can.
do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, yes.
Sure.
Unless there's somebody else that wants to speak.
I think everybody's okay with this one.
Okay. You'll bear with me for a second. Okay, at a meeting tonight, the petition of Michael Grego and Max Van Dexter on behalf of Adrian and Alex Harrell was presented before us. The chairman read into the record the petition itself. Michael Greco, the designer and architect, and are you a builder as well? I'm an architectural designer. Oh, architectural designer, okay. Presented the petition, speaking on behalf of the owners. Adrian Harrell spoke as well. There were no other speakers for or against this petition. As a result, I will move the petition and hopefully it will get a positive vote. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land and structure and not the general characteristics of the surrounding area. And the reason that we can say this is because The house has been there for a number of years. It's a very busy road, Kingstown Road there. They haven't had the ability to use their porch simply because of the road itself, and they now want to enclose the porch so that they can actually use the porch area all year long and not be bothered by the traffic that runs by there. And I presume it's almost constantly, because that is a very busy road there. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant. The house was obviously built a long time ago. They've owned it for a short period of time, I assume, with respect to the actual age of the house. And they just want to have the ability to use further space as their family grows in the years to come. The board finds that the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general characteristics of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. This is an unusual area to actually build a house. It's actually part of West Kingston, and it's not far from the train station. And there's a lot of traffic that runs by there, and so the characteristics is not going to change because of the minor things that are going to happen with this house and the porch. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience, meaning that relief sought is minimal to the reasonable enjoyment of the permitted use to which the property is proposed. Actually, they're going to get a larger use of their property, and it's not going to change the character of the surrounding area at all. And will not. Any hardship that we imposed for a denial of this would actually cause more suffering on their part, and thus I moved the petition.
Thank you, Mr. Rosen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Elia. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Elia?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels?
Aye.
Ms. Hicks?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Enjoy the home. You're welcome. Okay. Next, we have the petition of Aquila Ayala? Okay, I'll try to say that right. Thank you. Of 19 Jennifer Drive, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879 for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to construct an 816 square foot addition to the single family dwelling. To the addition will be located 6.4 feet from the side property line and 15 feet from the rear property line. The required side and rear setbacks are 10 and 30 feet respectively. Relief of 3.6 feet and 15 feet is requested. Lot size is 0.23 acres. Dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance section 401. The schedule of dimensional regulations in section 907 are standards of relief. The owner of the property is Aquila Ayala. I'll try, maybe the third time. For the premises located at 19 Jennifer Drive, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 48-3, Lot 286 and zoned R10. For this, we have the application signed and dated August 15th, 2024. Owner authorization form signed and notarized August 14th. Perimeter survey and land of the land, drawing number 2023-1103-02, prepared by Clift Land Surveying Company and stamped by Robert Clift, PLS, and dated August 12th. Preliminary construction schematics of A1, A03, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. A 200-foot abutters list and radius map, legal notices, and notarized affidavit of mailing. And then there's one correspondence from Thomas Rodriguez of 15 Jennifer Drive, dated September 10th of this year. Good evening.
How you doing?
Good.
My name is Aquila Ayala, A-Q-U-I-L-A, last name A-Y-A-L-A, and I am the owner and resident at 19 Jennifer Drive.
I'm Mr.
Ayala.
Ayala.
Yep.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Ayala.
All right, I am seeking relief on our house, which was built in 1948. It was one of the original houses when it used to be all farmland, and then essentially a developer came in and divided everything on the street and essentially cut up the first 3 lots in a really awkward shape. You can kind of see in the original GIS image that it was there. So essentially my house has always had a 14.8 15-foot setback in the back from when it was constructed, when it was subdivided by the developer. I am seeking the 3.6 relief on the corner in the back, and then the 15-foot setback on the back, I guess, corner. I am a South Kingstown resident. I went to high school here, went to URI. My wife and I bought this house in 2012. It was a house that was falling apart. We gutted the whole house, pulled all the required permits that were needed, everything that needed to be done, and brought the house up to code, and we did it all ourselves. And we have 3 children who attend South Kingstown schools, Peacedale. We love walking to school every day. In order for us to stay in this area, we are asking that we could have those setbacks met for the relief so that we could add an addition to help our growing family stay where we are.
So, Mr. Ayala, it looks like your eastern property line was drawn by a child.
Yes.
It's a very unique shape.
Yep.
So wanting to put, now, if you want to put your addition to the east side.
Correct.
Is there a particular reason why you want to put it on the east side and not just say to the back where you wouldn't need a variance?
Well, the back I would need a variance.
Or the front?
The front. Well, it would have to do with essentially messing with the landscape of the house, with the land itself.
The orientation?
Yes.
As well as, so if you put it, let's say, on the south side in the front of the building.
Yes.
That would indeed block your front door?
Correct.
So, and what are you adding to the house? What are the uses of the rooms?
We're putting a master bedroom, an additional bathroom for us, and a living room.
Yep. So you want to stay away from the kids. That makes sense. But that wouldn't make sense to put it in the very front because you don't want to walk right into your bedroom.
Correct.
So having it off to the east side is sort of makes sense relative to the footprint of the house.
Correct.
And you have to, and you don't have really enough room because of the unique shape of your lot.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any questions by the board members?
You left out the dog.
The dog? Yes, Olive.
It's on your application.
I know, I did.
Anyone else? No, at this time. You certainly can. Okay. Do you want to add anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Anyone out? Thank you.
No.
Anyone else out there have any thoughts on this? Care about it? Come on up. Good evening. And you are? Just turn your mic on. Are you the gentleman that wrote the letter?
Yes.
Oh, so.
I'm his neighbor. As you can see by the lines, it was, I don't know who drew those lines originally, but about a year ago, Akila and I had a conversation. I just bought the house 3 years ago, that they were going to have to move because of the size of the house. And I said, well, why don't we just fix the lines? He thought I was crazy at first because he didn't think I meant it, but we did it. And we straightened the lines so he could put the addition to the house. He's a very nice gentleman. His family is wonderful, and I'd hate to lose him as a neighbor.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm actually excited for him and his family, so I just wanted to be here to support him.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. Anyone have any questions for him? I did not swear you in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So just spell your name for us.
It's Tom Rodrigues, R-O-D-R-I-G-U-E-S.
And everything you just said was the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent. So that's very nice of you. So I'm glad you said that. Thank you very much. All right, anyone else out there? Nope. Okay. Seems reasonable relative to the shape of the lot, very unique. So, anyone have any other thoughts? wishes otherwise? No? Okay. Anyone want to make a motion? You want to do it? I was going to pull it out if I had to.
Okay. Again, the chairman read into the record the petition of Aquila Ayala, of 19 Jennifer Drive, Wakefield, for dimensional variance. They want to add a living room and a master bedroom to the east side of the property of the house that's there now. And Mr. Ayala spoke on behalf of, as the owner, on behalf of doing this. Mr. Rodriguez spoke, who's a neighbor, and actually I believe it's the house that's to the east, right? Yeah. Of Mr. Ayala, and was very complimentary. So I will move the petition, a favorable movement of the petition, that the board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief, I say this again, is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or the structure and not the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to the physical or economic disability of the applicant, accepting those physical disabilities addressed in 4524:30(16). Mr. Ayala indicated that they had taken a house that was in very, very poor shape and on their own brought it back to code. They now want to expand the house's footprint, and they need relief from the setback that was originally there to the back property line, and to the east they need relief as well. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant. Actually, it's in addition to something that they've already corrected, and so I think we ought to be positive with that. The board finds that the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance, the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. And the reason that it's not going to change the character is the closest neighbor to Mr. Ayala spoke on behalf and in a very friendly manner towards him, that being Mr. Rodriguez. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, will amount to more than a mere inconvenience, simply because they need the room. They have 3 kids and a dog, as pointed out by my good friend Tom Daniels, and it really will expand the square footage of the house and add to the comfort of the Ayalas. And so I move the petition.
Motion is by Mr. Rosen. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Daniels. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels?
Aye.
Mr. Elia? Ms. Hicks?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Good luck. I think you have room enough for 2 dogs now. Good luck. Next is the petition of Crescenzo and Sharon Conti of 71 Ridge Road, Smithfield, Rhode Island, 02917, for a special use permit under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to relocate this existing seasonal cottage to Road 20 East, site number 15, due to coastal erosion. Lot size is 50.2 acres. Special use permit is required per the zoning ordinance, section 203. Special use permit for addition, enlargement, expansion, or intensification. Section 608 are coastal community overlay district, and section 907 are standards of relief. The owners of the cottage are R3E18 are Crescenzo and Shannon Conti on property owned by the Matunic Beach Properties, located 240 Cards Pond Road, South Kingstown, assessors map assessors map 92-1, lot 9-45, and is zoned R200. For this, we have the application signed and dated August 16th of this year, owner authorization form signed and notarized August 15th, proposed site plan and sonotube cross-section, 2 photos of existing cottage, and then a 200-foot abutters list radius map, legal notices, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Crescenzo Conti, 71 Ridge Road in Smithfield, Rhode Island. First, I'd like to say good evening to Mr. Chairman, the members of the board, and the staff.
Yep, and do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do swear to tell the truth and the truth, nothing but the truth.
Do you want to speak as well?
Right.
So state your name and spell it, please.
Shannon Conti, SHANNON CONTI.
And you also swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. So please go ahead, guys.
So we were hoping that we wouldn't be here for another 20 years,
Yeah, us too.
but that's not the case. We're in a difficult position where we feel that we need to move our house due to excessive erosion. We spoke with the management of the property, and he's given us permission to move to the back row. When I called the town hall and asked what's the procedure, I know during Sandy, it was just one big group move, and there weren't many, I'm not sure what the process was, but now it's probably changed since then, since it's an individual house being moved versus a cluster of houses.
Yep.
Basically, we want to keep the same house, and we want to move it to a different location, and we're hoping to do this and get approval from the board.
And I just have a question for Mr. Gorman. How much land are they allowed to move back to? Like, how much of this, of the property are they allowed to take up in the end? Like, are we at all, like, is there a spot where they can no longer move backwards? Is it the road? I know, like, is there any concern on our part, like, in terms of we have to be thoughtful as to where it ends?
I'll show you on the map where the proposed location is, but hopefully that won't be for another century. If we're getting back to Cards Pond Road. But provided they can meet the setbacks where the proposed cottage is going to be located from the property lines, there shouldn't be, and there's sufficient parking and infrastructure, there shouldn't be any issue.
But, and for that property, it isn't like that they're allowed a certain limit as to how much space they're allowed on that property to occupy.
I think the board has the authority to, because they're not adding units, I think that might be another issue, but
this is just moving.
Correct.
Got it, okay. Just wanted to make sure, this was more of a clarification than anything else, because I don't recall.
I understand, and the position that the house will be moved is to the right corner of that row right there. So we're not adding another road or anything of that sort. It's just an ample space that management thought would be a good spot for it. Since we're already on the east side along the fence, it would just be pushing it from the front to the back.
And this is literally just picking up the existing building and moving it back to that location, right? So it's not changing size or anything like that?
No, not changing size at all.
Okay.
We've got a couple of quotes from movers.
Yep.
They're pretty familiar with the process down there on how they pick it up, put it on a trailer, and move it to a new location.
Donkeys. No, I'm kidding. It's so it looks like you're going to be about 25 feet from the closest building and another 21 feet from the road itself. So there's sufficient room between for any emergency vehicles or anything else that's required. So that seems like that's okay.
Yeah, that's correct. All the other houses in the back row had the same dimension setbacks from each house, so we stayed and conformed to that as well.
Right. Okay. Board members, any questions of the applicant?
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
My question, from the paperwork we received, I really couldn't tell where your house was and where it was going to. Are you waterfront now and you have to move to the back row?
That's correct, yeah. We bought the house in 1995, and there was a house in front of us before Sandy took that one out. So now there's no buffer in front of us.
So which one are you now?
We are all the way to the
One over,
right-hand side
right
along
there.
the yellow line,
That one.
right there.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Ilio?
Yes, I was out there a few days ago. Will you have to cut any of the shrubbery back along that access road that belongs to the neighbor, just so that it's not impinging on your house?
I'm not sure. Say that again, please.
If you can we see where it's moving to?
I believe that landscape or that shrubbery you're talking about is on Roy Carpenter's.
Right, well, you have to
beach.
cut that back so that it's not, so you've got room there?
Maybe.
Yeah, some of that would.
The only thing
probably-
that it opens to is the neighbor's driveway, which they don't really.
Right, some of the right-hand side shrubbery would have to be cut back a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else, questions, board members? Mr. Daniels?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you need any CRMC approval?
From the,
Well, you're making a disturbance in the move. I'm just curious whether or not you might need CRMC. Maybe council can help us with that.
And if they're within 200 feet of the jurisdictional line, the answer is yes. I don't know if they are.
Yeah, Mr. Daniels, so if the existing cottage location, even though they're relocating beyond the 200, they're going to need CRMC's approval to bring the equipment, shore it up, and relocate it from that, because essentially you're almost on the beach at that point. They may see it as just a maintenance and, expedite the permitting. I would think the retreat is what they prefer.
Right.
okay, I was not aware of that, so basically we're saying that we would have to get approval from CRMC to,
That's what council is advising, yes.
I mean, I would hope that the building mover would be sort of aware of getting the proper permitting to be able to move their equipment onto a beach.
we're not going on the beach, but we'll be within that 200 feet buffer. They're going to be moving it not on the beach itself, but on where the house presently lies, which is
Well, it's
on that grass area.
it's a disturbance within the buffer is
Yes,
what I think is the issue.
Yeah, certainly, I don't think it would be appearing before another board. CRMC would be an application filing, and they typically would review it and issue you a permit to, if there's no foundations going in. Essentially, they just want to make sure, is the whole cottage going, I believe, and anything there. But I think they just want to review any activities within that 200 feet.
Second question I have is for the building official. The special use requires a approval for an addition, enlargement, expansion, or intensification. I don't see any of this. Which one do you think this falls under?
So I think it would be under the 608, which is the Coastal Community Overlay District. There's minor changes and major changes, and only the major changes can be granted by the zoning board. I didn't feel that this fell under a minor, which would allow, a small bump out or an addition to a cottage, and that it would fall under the purview of the zoning board. But I think it would be an intensification or rather a relocation of a non-conforming use.
So without looking at it, 608 calls that out, in your opinion? Yeah, okay.
We may have cited more sections than we needed to for the legal notice. The special use permit is most particularly found within 608, which is the specific regs for the Coastal Community Overlay District.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, board members? No? You guys have anything else to add? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Did you want to say anything? No? Okay. Anyone else out there speak on behalf of this petition? Do you want to add something? Or you don't have to. I'm all set. Okay, yep. Nope, we're good. No, I mean, it seems very straightforward. I mean, obviously, we're all trying to make sure the building stays safe. And so, is there any other thoughts on this?
I feel bad for you folks having to go through this. Unfortunately, I mean, we're probably going to see a lot more of this as the future goes on. So I just want to say I wish you the best and look forward to you getting the approvals that you need to move forward.
No, I bet. Okay, anyone want to make a motion for this petition? Mr. Daniels, you're the best.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Petition of Crescenzo and Sharon Conti of Smithfield. I hope they're taking good care of things in Smithfield, my former community. They're seeking a special use permit to move a cottage in the Community Overlay District. The property is owned by Matunic Beach Properties. And based on their application, which was identified by the chairman and the documentation that was entered and identified, they want to move from a location directly on the waterfront to a remote location in the back of the property, if you will, because of the continued erosion, which we all know is a problem. Mr. Conti spoke on his behalf with the assistance of Sharon Conti. There were nobody that spoke in opposition to the request, and the board finds that the special use is specifically authorized by the ordinance under Section 203 for a special use permit for additional enlargement, expansion, or intensification, and under 608, the Coastal Community Overlay District, in Section 907, standards for relief. The board finds that the special use meets all the criteria set forth in the subsection of this ordinance authorizing such special use because, once again, this is not an enlargement, if you will. It's a moving of an existing existing structure without any enlargement, but moving it to a new location on the same property. And this is actually one lot, and that's therefore a special use permit is required for anything that happens basically at the Matunic Beach Properties. The board finds that the granting of the special use permit will not alter the general characteristics of the surrounding area or impair the intent and purpose of the ordinance or the comprehensive plan, because as you can see from the overheads, this is not a unique area. They're all basically the same type of residences, and it's certainly in keeping with what's already existing on this lot. Ingress and egress to the lot is not a problem because the proposed structure that's to be moved will have adequate space between it and the adjoining unit, adequate space for parking, and you can see that the roadway is also right there for entrance to the new location. There is no requirement for off-street parking or loading areas. There's no trash storage or delivery areas that we need to be concerned with. We assume, of course, that utilities will be moved along with the property. There's no screening and buffering that is required. There was a question about the landscaping to the east. Let me think about this. Northeast of the property. And it will not be disturbed based on the testimony from the applicant. There's no signs or any lighting or anything that needs to be dealt with. Certainly there is general compatibility with lots in the same zoning district because this is one big lot with a whole lot of structures, and this will certainly be helpful and hopefully much safer location for the applicants who are really facing some serious erosion at the waterfront. The one condition that was mentioned, and I won't ask that it be a condition, but we did indicate that through legal counsel and a building official that likely CRMC approval administratively would be required, and so we would advise that the applicant check that out before proceeding any further. And with that, I have no other conditions, and I move approval.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Hicks. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Daniels? Ms. Hicks?
Aye.
Mr. Elia? Aye. Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Good luck, guys. Thank you. We have the minutes from last month. Does anyone want to make any changes to them? Okay. All in favor of passing the minutes? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Next month is October 16th. Is everybody going to be here?
I will not be.
Mr. Rosen will not. Everyone else going to be here, as far as we know? October 16th. And I'm just checking. Yes, yeah, it was a fluke, the 6 p.m. Hopefully it doesn't. Okay, so Mr. Rosen, the only. Okay, anything else we need to talk about?
Ms. Goins has some discussion, do you not, on the agenda?
Is that this month?
Yeah, we had talked to.
Combination, planning and zoning.
Eradicating the zoning board?
Yeah.
I'd forgotten we were going to discuss that. Was this, more changes are coming, and I can't recall if I gave you some high points of the new laws. Changes are coming to the zoning ordinance in the area of accessory dwelling units. So our existing regulations on accessory apartments are going to be superseded. And South Kingstown was more liberal than many other communities in already allowing accessory apartments by special use permit in certain zones. We need to have our zoning ordinance mirror what was enacted at the state level at the end of June. The state law is already in effect. We just need to, last year's housing package made most of the amendments effective January 1st. This year, for the most part, everything was effective immediately. There are some other changes coming, but I don't think anything as sweeping as what was enacted last year that's already in effect. There was the option for cities and towns to, instead of having separate planning and zoning boards, combine the board into a single, basically dual-purpose board. I don't know that that makes sense for South Kingstown, and that's, again, that's something that the council would have to act affirmatively to do.
Ms. Goins, if I can, I believe that's what was being talked about, was that they had requested legal counsel regarding the state law of the combining of the planning zoning boards to issue a memorandum to the town council kind of against the combining.
Got it. That will be presented, and that hasn't been prepared yet, but that will be presented to the council rather than piecemeal, because the council won't be conducting a public hearing on all the zoning ordinance amendments until, I'm going to say, November, December, but I will make sure that correspondence gets to the planning board, who will be giving an official advisory opinion. So it really is, the planning board will give an advisory opinion on the proposed amendments, and separately or appended to that, it will be the correspondence from the zoning board recommending that the council does not exercise the option to combine planning and zoning. So I'll make sure the board gets to see a copy of that letter before it gets forwarded up to the chain.
Now, regarding that, if let's say someone is going in for a small development or whatever it might be, going to the planning, and it required a variance, can they ask for it over there?
That it already is in effect. It took effect last year. Planning has to grant zoning relief. Well, they don't have to grant the relief, but they have to hear the request. So that's something called Unified Development Review. That's already in effect. So some of your work that the zoning board in previous years did see, after planning board granted master plan for a development, whatever required zoning relief it needed came to the zoning board's desk. That procedure has been rewritten in state law.
Because, I mean, there has to be at least a half dozen that we haven't seen this year. Because
Perhaps.
usually there were
Yeah.
packages that came to us that say, here's the planning board's
Yep.
recommendations.
Mhm.
That hasn't happened for some time, and that's the
Yep,
reason. Okay.
correct.
Amy, what would be the purpose of combining the boards? Is it be to try and streamline the permitting process? Is there a specific reason?
I think that's it. I think it's all, again, with the intent of streamlining. In other towns where the volume of applications is not as high as it is in South Kingstown, and also in other towns where the planning board provides advisory opinions on special use permit or variance applications, this board has never gotten advisories from the planning board on applications that come to your desk, except if they first came for development plan review, and now you wouldn't see them anyway. But for smaller towns where the volume is low, and particularly sometimes where there's quorum issues, in another municipality we represent, the planning board met on Monday night to review to consider an advisory opinion to the zoning board, and then the zoning board heard the special use permit application the following night. In a municipality like that, where the volume is very low, that was the only application on the agenda, it might make sense. I don't think it makes sense for South Kingstown, but that will be for the council to determine. That's still on my list. I haven't forgotten about it. So you will see that before it goes to the council.
You would just think by the sheer volume that the planning board gets and the complexity of some of the applications, that they just wouldn't want to take any more.
I think you're right.
Yeah, okay.
Just the thought that, I think I expressed this before, that the planning board really deals with new stuff, development, master plan development, plan review of a new community, and we deal with the old stuff. We deal with stuff that's already in place, and they need relief. We very rarely, if we look at it, do we get something from the planning board once, twice, maybe 3 times a year for our approval after they've passed the master development plan, gone through all the hearings and the procedures and all. So what we're dealing with is what's existing, and I think that's an important distinction. The planning board doesn't deal with what's existing in a community. It deals with the comprehensive community plan and what's new that can be approved in a community. And I think that's a significant difference as to what we do, and I couldn't see the combination, combining the boards makes any sense, really.
That's it for me.
Cool, thank you. Mr. Gorman, you have anything to add?
Nothing to add. Looking forward to the accessory dwelling unit regulations. We're getting a lot of applications and inquiries regarding, families and property owners who want to create additional units now that the restrictions are, more liberal.
Right.
So, looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Excellent. Until they find out how much it is to build it. That's my fault. No.
That's all I got.
Okay.
I'm not going to be here next.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything else to add? Nope. Okay, motion to adjourn? All in favor?